Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. On this channel I've reviewed quite a few British brake vans, but I don't think I've ever reviewed an American caboose. So today I'm going to review an American caboose. So the caboose that I'm going to be reviewing today is this. It is HO scale of course, made by Bachmann, and it is a northeast steel caboose. And this is another one of the models that Bachmann actually recommended to me as I try to expand my coverage of more recent Bachmann models, or at least I hope so. They said to try their northeast steel caboose, and this does seem to be that, so hopefully I've got the right thing. Now in terms of the price, the full RRP from Bachmann is $57 US, although Train World have this available for $37.99, which is about 30 Great British pounds, and that's comparable really to a lot of the brake van prices that I've paid over here in the UK. So we're going to take a look at this today, we'll see what it's like, see what kind of quality and features this has got, and hopefully this will be a good example of a relatively recent piece of American Bachmann rolling stock. So with that, let's get started. So I think this is a pretty cool looking caboose. The blue looks really smart on this, and I like the white trim as well. So I'll be getting this out in just a second. Let me show you the end of the box. So the caboose I've got is 16822. It is the HO Northeast Steel Caboose in the Conrail livery, and it's number 18619, and it's in the blue. The back of the box doesn't show much, but it does have some of Bachmann's different bogie designs along with their names, which seems like an oddly specific thing to put on the back of a wagon box. And yes, I was sad enough to figure out which bogies this caboose has got. It's the Andrews leaf spring truck down here at the bottom. And then on the other end of the box, you've got some more generic features that these wagons have got. So let's figure out what this is like then. The Northeast steel-bodied caboose. Let's pull this out, see if we get any accessories or instructions, although I doubt it. Seems to be reasonably straightforward. Right, so it says press here for pick up a car. Beg your pardon? What does that mean? Press here for pick up a car, okay. Where's the for pick up a car? Slight communication issue, I think. I think what they probably mean is apply a thumb and forefinger on this position on the caboose to remove it from the plastic tray. But I suppose press here for pick up a car is a slightly more direct way of saying that. Anyway, here it is, and the weight of this is actually quite impressive. I'm used to rolling stock like this not weighing very much at all, whereas this one has got a bit of heft to it. Now looking underneath, it doesn't seem as though the chassis is cast or anything like that, although there are some nice details on here. So I'm guessing then that there's quite a hefty weight inside this, which should make it nice and stable on the track, which is good. Anyway, it doesn't seem to be a dreadfully complex model in terms of detail or whatever, but at a relatively reasonable price it seems like it will do the job, and we'll take a much closer look at the quality, detail and features in just a second. But for now, let's have a little bit of background on the caboose in real life. The Northeast Steel Caboose was a standard American design. The cupola viewing area protruding from the roof allowed crew members an elevated view of the train while in motion. The caboose would also serve as a form of transport for crew at the back of the train, so that they could exit for coupling operations, switching points or other duties. It was not always practical for these personnel to travel with the locomotives towards the front of the train, as some trains could reach truly incredible lengths. Press here for pick up a car. As such, cabooses usually included sleeping accommodation and even kitchen facilities for use on long journeys. A caboose would be required by law on every freight train up until the 1980s. Today though, they are usually no longer required due to advances in technology allowing duties such as monitoring and point switching to be automated. So there it is, up close and personal for you, the Northeast Steel Caboose by Bachmann. And like I said, despite the plastic body construction, the weight of this is really impressive. So it comes in at 84 grams. And compare that with a much more expensive Bachmann brake van from the UK, the Dancehall brake van, well that weighs in at just 45 grams. So this thing is kind of double the weight of that. Now, does it necessarily need to be that heavy? No, I probably don't think so, but it does mean that the Caboose feels nice and substantial, and also because it's got twice as many wheels as the Dancehall brake van, the load on each of the wheels should be about the same as the Dancehall, given that the weight is also doubled, so it seems to make sense. A nice hefty Caboose. Let's talk about the level of detail and decoration then. Let's talk about decoration first of all. So the colour looks excellent, although the finish is a little bit flat and plasticky. For a steel-sided wagon, I guess you'd expect a little bit more of a shine to this, but it's not terribly unconvincing at the same time. The printed detail is also excellent, so you've got this interesting white artwork on the side, which is well printed, and then you've got a fair bit of text and different printed details and numbers and such on the side, which looks good. In some places though, the paint doesn't look as though it's particularly durable. There are several parts of the model where the paint appears to have come off, on the side of the body here and also on the steps, and a particularly bad area are these white hand railings on the ends of the Caboose. You can see here how they're supposed to look on this side, but then if we look on the other side, you can see, yeah, the paint has flaked off those quite badly, and it's not just on one either, it's on the other side as well. So not the highest quality decoration. The level of detail is a bit of a mixed bag as well. There are areas of the model which are pretty impressive, and there are quite a few different separately fitted parts. I mean, these walkways along the roofs, these are actually separate. The chimney up on top, this is pretty impressive. It's obviously separately fitted, but it's not just a single moulded piece as far as I can tell, because you can actually see underneath the top part of the chimney there. So that's really quite realistic. We've also got the ladders, which are nice fine parts, and then the brake wheels too, which are very, very fine indeed. The underframe detail is mostly separately fitted, and that includes the brake rigging and such, as you can see. On the downside though, there is no interior detail whatsoever. Now, for a £30 model, you wouldn't expect a fully painted interior or something like that, but at the same time, a little bit of moulded furniture or something would have gone a long way. Instead, it's just completely empty on the inside, and sure enough, you can see that there does appear to be quite a big weight screwed down inside there, which is why the model weighs what it does. It does, however, have glazed windows, which look nice and flush, and the windows on the doors are also glazed as well, which look good. A lot of the handrails are just moulded as well, so these are all just a part of the moulding. They do stand out a little bit, but there's not as much relief as there would be if these were separately fitted. And this is not a dirt cheap Caboose, so a little bit better detail here I think would not have gone amiss. Here are the famous bogies, and as you can see, the moulded detail on these looks absolutely fine. And this does have quality metal wheels as well, and we'll find out in just a minute how well this thing runs. And then you've got your fairly typical Bachmann Easy Mate couplers, which are nicely pivoted as you can see, although as usual from Bachmann, these are just moulded plastic and not metal. So there you have it. I'd say it's like a moderately detailed wagon. I've certainly seen better, certainly seen worse. For the price, I think it could have been a little bit better, particularly in terms of the paint quality. And it is a bit disappointing not to see any interior detail, but certainly from the outside and from any sort of distance, it does look okay, and I don't think I would consider it a complete rip-off or anything, because it didn't cost an absolute fortune. So with that, let's get this down onto the track, and let's find out how it handles itself at the back of a freight train. So here is today's test setup. I've got my small Bachmann side tank set up, and it's got a small freight train, not too much because obviously it's only a weaker loco, and I don't want to spend the whole video looking at the train when we're supposed to be looking at the Caboose, which I've got at the back. Now, I've already filmed the free rolling test for the Caboose, and unfortunately it's really not that great. In fact, I couldn't get it to sustain a roll down Gordon's Hill at all, which is strange because the wheels are metal and good quality and they seem to be fairly free in their bearings. What I have noticed though is that one bogie is much stiffer than the other. So this one on the right hand side, great range of movement, very, very easy to turn. The one on the other side is a little bit different though. This one is much stiffer, a much narrower range of motion, and I'm wondering if that stiffness is preventing the flanges from running parallel to the rails and creating a bit of a brake effect. I think that should be fairly easy to fix, but I'm going to test it as it is for now, because I don't think it's right to start trying to modify things during a review, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, let me back up the freight train and let's test a coupling. Let's see how that gets on. It seems to be on the points and cutting out at the moment, so bear with me. There we go. a fairly gentle coupling in the end. And did it work? Yep, it's got it. So yeah, the Bachmann easy couplings, quite cheap, quite plasticky. I guess I do prefer the metal ones, but I've never had a problem with them not working or anything. So yep, couplings absolutely fine. Let's go. Press here for pick up a car. So I've got the little side tank running quite quick. It looks a bit strange going this fast, but I want to give the Caboose a good test. And I actually don't have a proper, well, I didn't have until this video, a proper Caboose that I can run at the back of an American freight train. So the fact that I now do is pretty awesome. It's probably not the right sort of region or livery for most of the stuff I've got, but I think having a Caboose is better than no Caboose. And yeah, one of those bogies might be a little bit stiff, but it's certainly not having any problems on any of the curves, as you can see. Staying coupled as well. There's really not a lot that can go wrong with a piece of rolling stock. I suppose you'd be surprised at some of the things that have gone wrong in reviews in the past, but not with this one. It seems to be staying on the track nicely, and I think the Loco's doing fairly well to haul all of this actually, given that it's quite lightweight and the Caboose is quite stiff to haul. But no, it looks really good as part of the train. The level of detail I think is adequate for this sort of viewing. I think if you want to start looking more up close and taking in some of the finer details, it's perhaps not as refined looking. But for using and running, it does seem to be absolutely fine. So with that, let's try the dreaded points test. Alright, well, let's keep this simple. As soon as the train's cleared the points, I'll hit the direction button and back it into the siding, see what happens. Here we go. I suppose I should be using more American terms for this review, like switch. And what's the American term for siding? I forget that now. Oh dear. Hang on. Alright, so those dodgy AliExpress boxcars have come off the track. Come on, out the way. But obviously we're not testing those, we're just testing the Caboose, which did seem to work perfectly well. So let me go and recouple to the rest of the train with those removed. I'll put them back on in a second. And then we'll just check how the Caboose gets on going forwards. Okay, try again. Try and match the speed. Yeah, no problems at all. Perfect on points. And now then, let's do some ratings. So I think, ignoring the price, the model itself looks like a decent budget model. Taking the price into account, I think the price could have done more to reflect that. So the level of detail for me is a 3-star. On the plus side, there's some fairly complex decoration on here. The moulded detail looks good, and there is a fair bit of separate detail too in places like the verandas. On the downside though, I think the finish could have been a little bit better. There's no interior detail, which is a pity, and there is a bit of an over-reliance on moulded detail. So overall, it's middle of the road for detail. Performance though, I've given 4-star. Everything's pretty good with the performance. The couplings work perfectly, as they should do, and the Caboose handles curves and points without any problems at all. Nice smooth runner. It is, however, not that free rolling, and to roll freely is one of the basic things rolling stock should do, so I've knocked it off 1 star for that, but otherwise it is perfectly fit for purpose. Quality, again, is a bit of a mixed bag. I think the way the details have been applied and the decoration applied is absolutely fine, but the construction is mostly plastic. There is a heavy metal weight inside the model, but on the outside most of it is just plastic, right down to the couplings, and there's also paint chipping off some of the detail parts, which isn't a great look. So possibly better quality paint would improve the quality of the model. Value for money then, I think the full price of $57 US does seem very, very steep, but obviously not that many people pay that price. Train World have this for sale for $37.99, which is about £30. Now I think this isn't too bad for £30, although I have seen better, so again I've given it a middle of the road 3-star, not bad value, but I think it could be a little bit better, and if they come on special in the future then the value will obviously be quite improved. So overall that is 6.20 out of 10, or a grade of E, which seems a little bit harsh because there's nothing majorly wrong with this. It's not mega impressive, and I don't think it's supposed to be. It's fit for purpose and it looks okay, so for the right price I wouldn't have any major problems with this. Into the logbook then, and it is 2nd place, so it's doing surprisingly well against some of the other more lemony rolling stock that I've reviewed this year. It's above the LMS Saloon by Bachmann, which was much poorer value I think than this, and below the R&R Crane, also by Bachmann. So there you have it then folks, that is my first dedicated review for an American caboose, and it's something I'd like to do more of. I really like the idea of a caboose, like a small compartment where a small group of people can hang out, and occasionally they'll have to get out and do their duties, but for the rest of the time they can live the good life on the railways. That's probably a very idealised way of looking at it. I'm sure it's hard work and not all plain sailing as I imagine it to be, but a little cosy house on wheels that's got everything you need for the next few days or whatever. It's just a lovely thought to me. So I like cabooses. I would love to review some more. If you know of any particularly good ones, please do suggest those down in the comments. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this one. Have you got one? And what kind of livery is it in? If you do, I'd love to know. But for now, thank you again for watching, and I will see you again very, very soon. Alright, cheers folks. You take care. Press here for pull up a car.